Hello, I'm Toycat and welcome back to another second channel video. Today I'm in New York City and I wanted to talk about the United States of America because you know the old adage about a boiled frog not noticing the temperature because it's been turned up so gradually. I feel like lots of people get this about their own country, particularly in the United States, where people think it's either the greatest country in the world and nothing is wrong slightly, or it's the worst country in the world, there's not a single great thing. I think both of those portrayals are wrong. I think there are lots of great things, but I also think there are lots of terrible things that people just don't notice because they're so used to living here, whether it's in a city or whether it's in the rest of the giant nation that is the United States of America. And so today I wanted to talk about some things that annoy me, going from plug sockets and the minor inconvenience of jamming them in and it being a whole process, to, oh yeah, you might die in a whole host of ways that people are just used to here, and I don't like that they just accept it. And so with that said, let's, actually, rather than going from plug sockets to hurricanes, let's go from hurricanes to plug sockets, because hey, I'm in the United States, I'm in the East Coast, if I'm not mistaken, hurricanes can hit here in New York, but it's particularly like a Florida problem. But every year there is a hurricane season where there are massive natural disaster level winds, and it's just like, yeah, we just deal with those. Sometimes people die, sometimes they don't. We just you know, wing it. And that's wild to me that there's just a hurricane zone. But also because obviously being exposed to the media, I'm aware of the fact that, and I've also been to, for instance, the West Coast of America, because the East Coast has hurricanes, the West Coast has earthquakes, and like it's in the Ring of Fire, one of the worst geological areas. And in fact, my girlfriend, who's from California, is just like, you haven't felt an earthquake before? Huh, odd. And like the fact that you can just live with earthquakes is a fact of life, kind of weird. It's also weird that there are super volcanoes in the center. Also, there's a Tornado Alley. I'll show you a map of that. I don't quite understand what the logic is there, but yeah, you might also get tornadoed up. Also, there are massive areas that are at risk of floods, obviously, because of the earthquakes being, you know, there's also like, you could get some tsunami, but if we just, every single natural disaster can happen to the United States. And also the weather here is just extreme. There is basically nowhere. I think I'm in one of the milder areas as far as weather goes. Again, I'm so glad that I'm somewhere where it's cold, but there is basically nowhere that I've been that doesn't have some form of absolutely extreme weather. Like I'm talking, again, I obviously spoke about hurricanes, obviously spoke about a volcano's weather, or earthquakes weather. So even here in New York City, even here in the Big Apple, look how ridiculously pretty it is. I think I was showing you Jersey City before. I think that's definitely New York. Let's walk towards one of the icons of this country. We're talking about the other icon, which is just extreme weather. It gets incredibly hot and humid in the south. You get feet of snow. I'm not great with the imperial system, but that's a lot of snow. And just like, there are incredible natural disasters that really can, that are like, again, insane to me living in the UK. And they just happen all the time here, and people are like, yeah, that's a thing. In fact, I put it this way, the United States is a country where the seasons genuinely matter. Living in the UK, the seasons just go past, they're a way of telling time. Here you need to be damn aware when it's summer because you might dehydrate. You need to be aware of when it's winter, because if you don't have a snow plan, you might get snowed in and die. And it's intense living in a place like that. You know what else is intense about living in the United States? I would say the political system. I can't think of another country that is quite so polarized all the time. You know, like, you have to go back to like the era of good feelings in the early 1800s to find a period where people were like, yeah, actually, I like what's going on with the country, near unanimously. Even then, I'm sure some people are against it. But the United States is a very, the funny thing about the United States is it's got a politics system. Obviously, they came from a king, and so they wanted to have a system where the power was in the people. It's a really great idea, and the best bit is it's actually a really well-crafted system. They looked at so many, the founding fathers looked at so many political systems around the world, and they crafted a great system, with the one basic exception being they kind of forgot, or they didn't forget, they didn't anticipate that political parties would form. And so the political party system, which could be great if there were a great number of parties, boiled down in the end to just two parties. I'm sure you've heard of, again, I don't need to even explain this in a video, but the fact that there are just two parties makes the country very polarized down lines that don't even really make sense. There is a political system which is there to help encourage voting in a democracy, but when you live in you know, when you live in a super rural place in the south, you vote for the Republican Party. When you live in a big city, you vote for the Democrats. It's not even a choice. And that's the worst bit about polarized voting that goes down demographic lines. Like, the fact is, if you are super young, maybe you want a more left version of the Democrats. If you are, you know, a more conservative voter, maybe you want a more conservative version of the Republicans, but you don't get one. You just have two parties, and they're so polarized, and the nation is so enraptured by it, and genuinely believing the other party is evil and corrupt and has no values. And I'm gonna get a bunch of comments being like, oh, but you don't understand, Toy Cat, the party that's not the one I support actually is corrupt and immoral and terrible, and you know, we have to do everything we can to stop them. Politics in the United States is not about voting for things you love, and obviously this is a problem with a lot of places around the world, but politics is about stopping the thing you despise most. Everyone genuinely believes they're on the edge of a Nazi-style dictatorship every single election, or if I guess the other way, you know, a USSR-style Russia, if they can't get the other party to not win. And that, you know, that's an effective way to convince people to vote, sure, and it means people engage in democracy, but it means they engage in a democracy that is fearing for their life. And I don't know if that's good. I don't know if fearing for your life, if the other party get in, is really a great system, but it's the system they use, just like tipping. I'm sorry, I know a British person talks about tipping, how terrible. So I want to preface this one. My mother, my single mother, she was a waitress to make ends meet, so of course she valued tipping a lot. I do understand that tips are a great way to help people make additional money. Whenever people talk about tipping, they're like, oh, just pay the servers a living wage. Of course, there's so much more to it than that. I think it is crazy though, the system that is just accepted, where it's like, oh yeah, so when you buy food, service not included. What do you mean service not included? You don't get to do that, America. You don't get to be like, yeah, we don't include one of the key components that we're giving to you. You have to pay for that extra, and you can actually just choose not to pay for it. I mean, I think any restaurant that says service not included and lets you choose how much to pay should also have the exact same policy towards food. Oh yeah, food not included, just pay what you think is valid. And if they can't support that, oh, do you mean that people, you know, like, do you think that people should in fact have the ability to make a certain amount from something because that is the cost of the service? Oh, you do? In which case, yeah, have a you know, some form of minimum guarantee for your servers or whatever. I don't quite understand the system here entirely, because I understand there's some roots in some slavery, and there's some roots in obviously having a lower minimum wage in a lot of places, but now we're at the point where it's just like, yeah, there is this person in the restaurant, they take your order and then they bring your food from the kitchen and you pay them a bounty, because the way American tipping works, because you know, I've already alluded to it, but you don't just pay the wage of, you know, you don't pay for the service. You don't go, okay, well, I used half an hour of your time, the hourly wage here is $10, I'll pay you $5. No, you pay them a percentage based on the food they brought you. There is a bounty system in the tipping here, and I don't understand how no one raises questions besides me. Every time I bring it up, they're like, no, well, you see, don't you see, Toy Cat, bringing 5 meals is more work than bringing 1, so you pay them a percentage off it. And it's like, how does a $20 steak take 5 times less effort than a $100 steak? How does a you know, a $15 cocktail take, I guess if they're making it, take more effort than a $3 drink? But I don't think that they are. I don't think that's part of the server job. And no one, everyone just goes, no, that's just how it is, Toy Cat. It's like the party system. You know, we hate it and we think we're always on the brink of collapse, but don't you dare criticize it as a as a non-American. And I just don't understand it. I don't know why, but every plug socket has a slightly different width, and so some plug sockets you put the plug in and it just goes in it. It's a little bit loose. Sometimes you have to jam it in, and you don't know if it's going to be a jamming slot or if it's going to be like a real soft slot that you have to like really hope it doesn't fall out. It's just insanity. Your plug sockets are wild, and they look like a little happy face sometimes, and I guess that makes up for it though. So thank you for watching this video about things I am not fond of about the United States. Obviously, I come here a lot, obviously. There are things I love about the country, and if you want to watch a video about all of those because you can't stand criticism, then good news, I'll probably be making one in the near future. But for now, I hope you all enjoyed this little walk and talk video. Second channel walk and talk. Look at this, we are mixing things up. We are going wild with the formats. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed, because I'll see you all next time. Goodbye. It's just beautiful. I might just look at the view for a little bit. Have a good day. Bye.